All right, 7 o'clock, we have a quorum. I'll call this meeting to order. Thank you everyone for coming to our September meeting. First thing on the agenda is the approval of consent agenda items. We will have to vote to approve these, and it looks like this is one of the months where we have to vote to approve the statistics and financial reports. Is that correct, Rob? Don't we, those don't get approved every month, right? They get approved.
Yeah, I mean, I just always put them in the
They're
consent
packaged in.
agenda.
We'll
Yeah,
have them.
yeah.
So, has everyone looked over these? Does anybody have any concerns about any of those packaged items? I will briefly. Robin, is there anything we need to know about any of these things, specifically the statistics and financial reports?
No, everything's pretty much on track.
Okay, Marcia says they're good enough. That's good
Yeah,
enough for
we're
me.
2/3, like, if you look at the August financial report, we're 67% of the way through the year at the end of August, and our numbers are pretty much right where they need to be, so no concerns. We've had a lot of donations this year. We haven't spent all the money that has been donated to us. It's short of buying like a luxury car. We're doing that some years, which is a really good problem to have, so.
Okay, I'll take a motion to approve the consent agenda item packet.
So moved.
Second, all in favor, aye? Aye. Passed.
Oh, Kinsey's not here. Do we have a note taker?
Oh, we do not.
Thank you, Holiday. And can you hear us okay?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Fabulous.
There is a recording of this meeting, so you can go back. Thanks.
And we have Harold Hall from the Friends Board sitting in for Susan Tracy tonight.
Okay,
Hi.
great.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. Thanks.
Okay, so we'll move on to comments from observers. I don't see any here. I assume no one else is online. We'll pass through that.
Just to double check, no, we have nobody else online.
We will move on to comments of the Friends of the Library. And I will again turn to my left and say welcome.
Great, thank you. Susan was busy tonight, so I'm coming in her place. Friends have been very busy. Mum sale was quite successful, I believe, with total profit of $2,906. And those came from the Arch Farm in Newcastle. So I hear they're great. Yeah, so sales are really nice. It's also, I know, Love Your Library Month. We have the table at the top of the steps, doing pretty much a membership drive. It's staffed for about 2 hours most days of the week. And last Saturday, we received a check from a walk-up for $1,300.
Nice.
Which is great. Yeah, that's fantastic. I think it's the largest we can ever recall to have just a walk-up random donation. So that patron is definitely a member now. We have the holiday book sale scheduled. It is Saturday, November 18th, and that is in conjunction with the library's Jahala Book Flood event. So it's at the same time we'll have the book sale. That is all I have to report.
Okay, well, thank you for all that good info. And that moves us on to the comments from our commission liaison.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for letting me come in via Zoom. So the big thing at the commission right now is we're getting close to budget season. That begins on November 1st. And in the last, not this past meeting, but the meeting before, we approved a new trash contract for 4 years. Trash may not be the most fun subject, but it is our largest contract. And it increased by 40%. So we are looking at a tight year budget-wise. And we'll begin that process November 1st. I really don't have any predictions, only because I don't have any idea where the numbers are going to come in, but we'll have to wait and see. The other big issues really right now facing the commission are the number of traffic calming requests. We are receiving requests weekly, some of us daily, for different streets in Mount Lebanon and different intersections where traffic is speeding through, not obeying stop signs, not obeying red lights, with pedestrians around. And so we're asking everyone to remember to calm down, slow down, let's not cause any accidents. And we're also looking at traffic calming measures. Traffic calming is really just a buzzword, which means that you look at physical changes to the road and or the intersection to make drivers slow down. So one that everybody would be familiar with would be a speed bump. That's classic traffic calming. So that's the kind of thing we're looking at. Other than that, we're waiting for several different reports to come in, one on the main park. We asked for a study of the main park to see if it's being used in the most efficient manner. And once we have all that information, we'll probably take some actions and I'll get to report those back to you. Any questions from anybody?
Sorry. You said, it just made me think, like you said, the most efficient manner to use the park. I just didn't know what that meant.
Well, and that's probably really because I'm very tired. I had a really long day. So there are some things like, for example, if you have a little kid, and you have, say, a 5 or 7-year-old that wants to go play with the other kids, those two play lots are very far apart. So how can we kind of, fix some of those inherent problems? The park was mostly, as things were needed, things were added, not always perhaps in the best spot, not to fault anybody. That's just the natural organic growth of something. But we'd like to look at it and see if there are ways to rearrange it so it functions better for our users. Does that explain it for you?
It does, thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions for Ann? Okay, thank you, Ann.
All righty, thank you.
Well, I guess, the 40% cut, will that affect the 40% increase in the garbage, the trash, contract, will that affect like other areas like the library?
I think
It very well could. I mean, I can't.
We're talking about that later in this meeting.
Oh, okay.
It could be.
It could be, and I don't have any predictions. I don't know where we'll make cuts and or try to increase revenue. I can't predict. I'm looking for my crystal ball, but I think it's broken.
And can I add one thing, Ann?
Yeah.
So what you didn't say was, unfortunately, the contract is not going to go to waste management. So we will be completely changing our trash hauler.
Right.
Well, we've done that before
Oh,
recently,
yeah.
haven't we?
It
Oh, yeah.
didn't go well,
Okay,
so it'll be interesting.
yeah,
It's basically a requirement that we go with the lowest bidder if there's nothing wrong with them.
Lowest
right?
responsible bidder.
Thank you.
Yes, and the company we're
Bid.
going with was the lowest bidder for the way trash is, where it wouldn't be restricted. The waste management wanted to restrict the amount of trash you could put out, and also wanted us to use all new bins, and it was more expensive. I don't disagree that we may have problems with the new ones, so please keep that 343-3400 phone number on speed dial. So if you have any problems, you call right away so we can make sure that your trash gets picked up.
But the good news is we'll be able to recycle glass, right?
Right. Yes, we will be able to recycle glass. Thanks, Marcia, for saying that, because I wanted to say one thing about that and I'd forgotten. We will be able to put our glass out with our recycle, but something you guys may not know, I didn't know, so that's why I'm assuming not everybody knows this, but when you single stream your recycle, meaning you put it all in one bin to go, only about 40% of it can be recovered to be recycled. if you instead single stream it. So for example, up at the liquor store, very apt place to have this, they have glass recycling bins. If you do it there, they can recover more like 60 to 70% of the glass when they recycle.
So is it thought to have that kind of dumpster type of recycling available in Mount Lebanon? Where
well,
you can go in, put your glass and your cardboard and your, plastics.
we are definitely looking at how we might improve recycling in Mount Lebanon. At the moment, there is not a plan to put a glass recycling bin in Mount Lebanon. My understanding is that at one point that was done, and we got everybody's glass from all over and lots of people throwing glass on the surrounding area. So at the moment, that's not the plan, but definitely being explored to see how we can do single streaming as opposed to, or not, I don't know if I'm saying it right. We can do it so that you have separate bins for everything.
What if you put it in someplace like, I don't know, right behind the police station where somebody would kind of be watching it to avoid some of those issues?
I think doesn't Mount Lebanon partner with other municipalities to do the
Yeah.
Michael Brothers one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
We
Michael
do.
Brothers.
Yes, we do.
One is the
Definitely.
it's near South Hillsville.
Village Square.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's right in Village Square, right next to the liquor store, which is, kind of an apt place to get rid of your wine bottles.
Mhm.
Not that I ever drink wine. Anything else? Okay,
Okay.
thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we will move on to my president's report. The only things I have this month are my daughter and I came out to the mom sale to help set up, so thank you for having us, and we had a good time helping, and I'm glad, sounds like everything went well.
Thank you for that.
There was also a comprehensive plan meeting last week that I attended and Robin attended, so your library was well represented. It honestly wasn't the most exciting comprehensive plan meeting I've been to. It mostly concerned slogans and branding, so there's not a lot to report from it, but Robin and I both contributed.
Yeah, basically an update from the
Yeah.
consultants they're talking to about coming up with a little bit, or with a brand or slogan,
Yeah.
that's the word. A community with characters, we're
Yeah.
moving on from that.
Yes, so anyway, we were both there and contributed, so, and other than that, that was all I had. And we can move to the director's report.
Okay, as always, I'm not going to read my July and August reports, you have them there. Harold, if you want to grab a copy over on, you're welcome to, it's up to you. Okay, there's just a ton of stuff going on, just everywhere, so I'm gonna try to not take up too much time because we've got kind of a lot to talk about tonight anyway, but you will have noticed that we finally have new sidewalks all around the building. So that was exciting. They started the second day of school. And so it was a bit funky with the logistics, but only one kid managed to step into it. So that was pretty good. We were expecting worse than that. They did really well. The kids were great. School year so far has been fine. We've had no issues. Traffic has been pretty light so far, but we've had really nice weather and yeah, no issues. This is Love Your Library Month. Marina sent along some envelopes for you all. If you haven't already contributed, she wanted me to thank Holly and our Holiday and Marcia for contributing. And she said that just today we are $100 shy of $21,000 donated so far this month. Our goal is 30,000, so we are on track to meet that goal, which is great. Let's see, this is also library card sign up month, so if you haven't used your card in a while and you need to renew, please do that. I think yours is probably fine. Yours gets quite the workout.
Yeah.
Let's see, in addition to the comprehensive plan last week, the focus group I attended, I was also invited to attend a strategic plan focus group for Mount Lebanon School District next Tuesday. So I'll be attending that at 8 o'clock in the morning. And the library staff is working on updating our own strategic plan, just the action steps, because we've accomplished so many of them, which is great. There were a few that the board had created, so if the governance committee wants to look at those and just maybe guide a discussion for next time. Or even in January, it's not like there's a big rush to do it, it's just something that I don't want the strategic plan to just be created and then shelved, we want to keep it going. Several of us will be attending a conference in the Poconos, October 1st through the 4th. I will be there the whole time and presenting a poster session and as part of a panel. And one of the librarians, Eric Meisberger, will be attending the entire time as well. And then two of our youth services librarians, Katie Donahue and Rachel Blyer, will be accepting an award for best practices for high school programming. They did a Dungeons and Dragons, no, not Dungeons and Dragons. It was a live action role play like Dungeons and Dragons, but it was Greek mythology themed. It was very popular and fun. As far as the Librarian Advisory Council, which is the county library directors who meet and make decisions for the county, I'm actually the chair next year. I've managed to avoid it to this point, but it's my time. So I'm looking forward to it. Things are going really well. Everybody's getting along. It's been great. We have a new library calendar, so we're getting away from Event Keeper finally, as it's a very difficult and problematic software to use. So we're going to be having a new library calendar soon, and if you're interested, I can have Jeremy or somebody come to one of the upcoming board meetings and give you a demo. We're also going to be moving over to Windows 11 in October. So I think our transition date is October 19th. They kind of do it in stages throughout the county. As far as the Allegheny County Library Association, they presented their budget request to RAD in August. They're requesting a 4% increase. Response was positive to their presentation. They seem to really like the new CEO, Amy Anderson. So I can't say what's actually going to happen, but we're hopeful. We are also going to be looking at the RAD formula again next year. And ACLA is also looking at their strategic priorities for 2024. So everybody's working on their strategic plan right now. So that's all I had as far as the director's report part of this meeting.
Okay, thank you, Robin. We will move on to our committee reports, which I think is gonna possibly take up most of our time this evening to see. And we can start with the Finance Committee. Marcia, are you prepared to speak with the Finance Committee?
We met with Bob and Robin and I met with Terry and Andrew to go over the budget request. We made a few small changes in the process, but nothing significant. They were completely non-committal on where it will be money-wise, but the commission Keith did indicate that he had a request to come up with some potential, each department, and we're considered one, should come up with potential cuts to be made, to possibly be made when the commission starts budget reviews. We've identified four items.
4 or 5, yes.
4 or 5 items.
I have this under new business, but we can talk about it
Let's
now
do
and get
it
it
now.
over with. Yeah. So
Robin sent me an email and said, what do you think? And I told her a couple that I thought of. I think this is a very good list, and the reason I think it's a very good list, it starts on the bottom of the page under, no, it's on the back, library options for potential savings.
yeah, so what I did is at first I put the request that Keith sent out in an
Right.
email so that you all know what this is referring to. And then the examples were what Andrew McCreary gave so that we all knew what format they wanted them in.
I suggested, and you can close your ears, I suggested that we come up with things that primarily would affect patrons. Because if it affects patrons, it's going to be harder to cut, and therefore, we get patrons behind rallying for something. You'll notice that 4 of these: reducing programming, eliminating Sunday hours, you can imagine how popular that will be, reducing evening hours, closing at 8 instead of 9 on 2 nights a week, or 4 nights a week, I guess, and reducing the book budget. We are significantly, and I know 5% doesn't sound like a lot, but 5 out of 12 is a lot. We spend significantly more on books and materials than the state requires. So what would happen if we cut it back? How much would it be if we cut it back to the state required level? And of course, that then affects what we're able to buy and, patron experience, et cetera. The one that doesn't affect patrons would be the $6,000 for reducing conference and education budget. And this would be a real shame, because this year the ALA conference is in Columbus. And this gives us the first time that many staff members who never get to go to a national conference could easily go.
Yes.
And I think that's an educational opportunity that is, one in some of these librarians once in a lifetime.
The the Public Library Association is a subsidiary of the American Library Association. So everything at the conference has to do with public library services, all of the presentations, everything, and it's really good. It's not as big and overwhelming as the National American Library Association annual conference, but it's really
It's focused.
really
I've been to a
focused
couple of
and
them, and they are
excellent.
fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, they are just so great for brainstorming, coming back with, fresh ideas.
Right, and Columbus is compared to, Philly, Boston, DC,
San
San
Diego.
Diego, where they usually have the ALA conferences. Columbus is a really affordable city to, go and get a hotel room and eat out and that kind of thing. So I would be able to send more staff members than I normally would.
So that was the list of what we came up with. I think if anybody has anything they would want to add to it, or thinks we have been delinquent. These are due on what,
The
Friday?
29th,
So next week,
yeah, the next
week.
So how much is Keith asking?
No parameters were given.
Right, which kind of ties into
No
my question.
parameters.
I have concerns. It'd be one thing if they came and said, okay, we're gonna ask every department to shave 3% or 5%, and Ann, maybe you can address this, or 10%, that would make sense. But to just put out an open-ended call that says, what can you cut, that's open-ended and vague, I don't quite get it.
My understanding is
And-
that it was a request from one commissioner, and I did ask specifically to keep about parameters as far as whether they're looking to cut a percentage or certain departments, or if there was anything that was off limits, and he just really couldn't give me anything more than what is in this email that I shared.
I'm hesitant to recommend $200,000 plus in cuts if that's not what they're looking for, because maybe the commission surprises us and takes us up on all of them.
Yeah, right.
They don't,
Well-
we don't need to.
I know Northland is open on Sundays, but that's only from Labor Day to Memorial Day. I mean,
That's
is
how we
that,
started out.
oh,
Yeah.
okay,
We're one of the few libraries in the South Hills that are
Right.
actually open on Sundays.
right, and we're open year round, we're not.
I think Bethel might be open during the school
We
year.
started out
Sundays.
as
Right.
a limited.
Mhm.
I remember, it was coming out of the recession in 2009, 2010, where we clawed our way back to Sunday hours.
Right.
It was a huge feat, and it was very, very difficult to do to get back to Sunday.
So you're getting a
hours.
little palpitations
Yeah,
over
yeah,
there.
Can't go back unless that was a monumental drop in funding across the board that caused the reduction.
I remember.
Yes, there were no options at that time.
So the programming reduction, because most of that's Friends.
That's a difficult one, and I was on the fence about adding it. We could reduce our programming costs and do what the other libraries do and do mostly in-house things. The thing is, our programming is funded by the Friends. So they would have to agree to fund other operating costs instead of the money that they give us for programming, and they have never, ever been wanting to fund operating costs beyond programming.
Still wanna
And
fund
some
programming?
books.
Can you even do that?
The goal is
Can you
to
fund
not cover the
operating costs? That
operational
would be
costs,
good.
but to cover the things that make the library exceptional,
Right.
which is through the program.
I think we take that one out.
I've
Okay.
never known a friends group to fund operating costs
It's,
ever.
it's a sticky stuff. You don't want them to start
Right.
funding things like staff wages.
Right,
Because if, you know, the bookseller closes or something, then we lose staff. You can't rely on things like that.
right.
I mean, I think that it's $135,000 reduction that we're just offering to reduce on books and materials. Part of the problem is that it seems like that's very visible, right? Because those are things patrons are using, but patrons have no idea how much materials cost in the first place. And they also have no idea how much is in a library's collection, and electronic collections are also very hidden. And they'd only be missed, like, the ancestry would probably be missed by those people who use it, but that's probably a small percentage, but they're heavy users, so I hate to make any cuts without knowing, like, how much they're looking for, how much they're expecting, because, you know, if they're expecting a $3,000 reduction and you offer,
This is not an easy or fun exercise, and it's,
So,
what kind of reduction are they?
and it's be the same amount of visitors if we were to eliminate Sunday as we would if we
I
closed an
didn't
hour
have
early.
time to look
Okay.
at the specific average of Sundays versus evenings. Sundays are much busier than 8 to
Right.
9 o'clock on weekday nights.
Okay.
So the number of visitors, but our per hour average is around 100 visitors an hour. So I just
Sure.
use that.
What is our responsibility on this as?
That maybe is a question. I think from what I could tell from what I've talked to, you know, when we talked to Keith, I have to submit something, and I wanted you all to be on board with whatever it is I submit for
Why do you have to
consideration
submit something?
by the end of next week.
Why?
Oh.
Because if you don't, they may just tell you what to do. You have to-
It was a request from a commissioner, and we
You
do
have
our
to do
best to, yeah, fulfill the commissioner's requests for information. This is informational at this point. There's no expectation
Mhm.
or understanding that any of these cuts will be made.
That's
This
right.
feels like the Hunger Games or
Yeah.
something, like this
Yeah,
just
well,
has a
that's what
bad.
it is.
I mean, when you say
Feel to
reducing
it.
programming by 20,000, that's the 20,000 that the library has independent of what the Friends would give us, right? Or is that?
No,
or is that-
The Friends
That's
pretty
all.
much,
We're taking this one
We've
out,
said we
right?
can-
yes, we're going to remove.
Programming is out. That one's gone.
Yeah, that's just something that, I mean, we were just looking at things that we could trim, and
Yeah,
you know, when you're facing budget cuts in a library, you look at programming, you look at collection, and you look at staff hours.
okay, that's all there is.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean,
Could we cut the amount of spending that the commission gives towards programming?
They don't really give
They don't
anything
give
towards
anything.
programming, just capital.
Yeah.
Okay,
Programming is almost entirely the Friends of the Library and individual donors. We use those funds.
so when you're saying almost entirely, see,
Right.
But like
It's the
story times are
3,000.
not
I
sponsored
know,
by the, that's a part of your duties, isn't it? Like,
It's
Oh,
part of our
right?
duties, and so we
Yeah.
don't,
Yeah.
there's not a lot of spending, but,
Yeah,
but the Friends provide money to buy supplies and
Sure.
craft,
right.
you know, craft stuff and toys and that kind of thing.
okay, so there's not like a line item.
There's not really-
besides that.
No, we don't use any of the operating budget towards programming, that's all donated funds. We've just added it into the line items.
we could, instead of going on the books and materials, we could reduce it from, say, 17.25 to 15%, or
Mhm.
split the difference between 17 and
Right.
12 and make it 14.5 and not make it 130.
I agree with
Just
that.
the number.
Again,
Cut
why,
it something, but
Right.
not the whole. lot.
why automatically jump to cutting it to the minimum? That seems
Yeah.
Cut it in half, split the difference, in other words.
like we don't wanna be doing the minimum. We wanna be a superior library, correct?
Do you
Yes.
have usage
Keep
rates for
looking.
electronic resources? Because you could cut an electronic resource that is not very popular.
We absolutely could, and that would be, some of the first things to go, but for instance, we spend almost 67,000, I think it's $67,000 is our contribution towards the county e-resources database. So, we do spend money for our own databases, things like Canopy and Ancestry Plus and Consumer Reports and, some other databases that we would cut, that would be the first things to go, pretty much.
Robin, is that in the 17.25% of the e-resources? Are they accounted for in that number?
Yes, yes, that's part of our budget, and since you've been on the board, it has gone like this, as
I bet,
far as,
and they're looking at a 2% increase, so this would automatically go up. If that's increased by 2%, whatever that happens. Now, isn't this part of the formula as well? Libraries spend on their collection.
it is,
because
yes,
you're
so
contributing to the
it
county
will,
system.
yes, so it will, reductions to the collection would affect not only our state funding, but it would affect, our regional asset district formula funding as well.
Super important to note in here. They
Okay,
don't.
good point, Harold, thank you.
35.
I still think Brad should just pay for that stuff flat out and not charge libraries individually. I think that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Sorry. You guys don't want me.
Yeah, that's a tangent, that's a tangent,
I know.
that's what we ran about when we got to you.
So the non-consortial resources are the ones that are listed here. Canopy.
That was just a few of them, yeah. We pay for a lot of databases that other libraries in the county don't have access to, that you only can get with your Mount Lebanon card.
So if we take out the program and we cut the books and materials either to say 15 or 14 and a half.
Just
halfway
give me a
in
number and I'll have Allison adjust it for me.
Either 14 and a half would be halfway between state minimum and where we are. 15 would be the round number above it. Pick
Does
one.
that work?
14 would be the round number below it.
It would.
I'd say give them as little as possible, they, what's,
I agree, 15%.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay. And then leave the others as is. I will, check the visitor numbers before I submit it to get that average better, because like I said, the evening hours, we have fewer visitors than we do for Sunday hours.
So if we would want to try to keep one of those, evening hours is what we would want to keep on
Absolutely.
Sunday. Like, which one's gonna cause more of an outcry?
Sunday.
We close Sunday.
Sunday.
Sundays get more complaints.
Yeah, absolutely. Sunday will get far more complaints.
Because we bring in people from all over the region, it's not just our
Yeah.
residents.
Right, if we're the only one open. And that's what we're looking for, is something that people will complain about. Is there, so it just says items to be considered. Is there a number of how many they're looking for?
Nope.
Okay,
There's no guidance.
okay.
We've been through this before. This is not the first time this exercise has happened.
And what was the?
They didn't cut anything.
Oh.
It was a completely different batch of commissioners
It was
though
a
at that
completely
point.
different batch of commissioners and they asked for it and it was all in this is back in the OOs and it was asked for and everybody went through and everybody agonized over it and when all was said and done, they said, oh, well, we can't do those things. Those are too important. And so they didn't cut anything.
Okay, so Robin's gonna.
Dan's giggling.
Not really giggling. I'm just, it is true that there was one commissioner who requested this and we haven't seen any numbers at all. So I see you guys agonizing over this. I feel badly, but I don't even know what to tell you as to how short it'll be with this increase from trash because I just don't know. So until November 1st, when we see the manager's recommended budget, I have absolutely no feel for what we may or may not do. I'm sorry.
Okay, so everyone's clear on what we're advising, I guess, Robin to do here. We've dropped the programming one and the reduced budget for books, instead of dropping to 12%, we're dropping to 15%.
And I'm gonna include, the fact that it will affect our funding from other sources
Yes,
because of our
yes,
formulas.
Yes.
Well, if we had to reduce the education budget, is that something that could be subsidized by the Friends? Just with this one particular conference that's happening next year, if we had to.
If the friend, I can request it of my friends, yes.
Sure. Okay. I mean, that's not, not,
The request could be made.
it's not as large of a reduction and nor would I really want it to be, but that could be something that could be subsidized by our friends versus, if we had to go that way.
So basically, that budget line was $8,000 a year from like the time I
Mhm.
started until COVID. COVID, obviously, we used $0.
Mm-hmm.
And then since then, it's been like 2,000 and then 4,000. So this year, we wanted to increase it for 2024
Right.
from 4,000 to 10,000. So it's a little more than it was before COVID,
Mhm.
just for this 1 year to get
Yeah.
this special event. But yeah, it's something that we can,
It's not ideal, but that would be an easier one to,
If
for the
we
Friends
lose
to
it.
subsidize versus saying they needed to somehow help us with our operating budget, because that won't fly.
no,
In most
nor
places.
should it.
No.
ALA sometimes offers continuing ed grants and things.
Yeah, for first time
Mhm.
attendees and things like that, yes.
I would say let's not stress about that stuff too much until that money's going.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, any other finance committee stuff, Marcia? Okay. Moving on to the fundraising committee. Anyone, Holiday or Monica, is there anything, you guys met?
Maybe not.
No, I just wanted to put that on so that we could talk about, the Mom Salem Mobile Library month, but we already did, so.
Okay.
I was kind of wondering if we should, I remember reading in one of the reports, something about how the advertising for the garden tour program kind of went down. So I'm wondering if we should start reaching out to advertisers now and, saying, you'll get this year's rates, but if you wait until January 1st. they're going
Oh, that's smart. Yeah, we can, coordinate a meeting with Marina and, see what she says.
Okay, that makes it. Kristen, mine. Mary, your turn. Governance committee.
So we met twice. We met in August and then we met again in early September. Just to make sure that we were correct with everything we wanted to say about the bulletin board policy. And then we're also still working on the patron behavior policy, which then led us to another policy that we're gonna look at coming forward, which would be library displays.
So I've been going down the rabbit hole of like federal school zones and
Yeah.
PA gun laws.
So, yeah,
It's been wild.
Patron behavior. The gun one is one of interest because apparently the federal law says you can't have a gun within 1,000 feet of a school.
Oh.
We're right
But
there.
PA says.
I mean, 1,000 yards, I'm sorry.
1,000 feet.
1,000 feet? Okay, feet, yeah,
Yeah,
1,000 feet.
but-
So, yeah, so right,
But PA permits guns in school zones as long as you have a permit and basically.
yeah, so we're not there yet. That's still in the
I'm
works.
sorry, Monica, I know you have a little one.
Ew, that's
Um,
terrifying.
Yeah, so we're still working on that one, but we feel that the public notice board, I know there was a question about the military in the last meeting in July.
We reviewed everything with Bill Weiss, our legal counsel for the municipality.
Yeah.
And so the first page of the packet you just received is our current policy. The second page is the red line version with purple, and the purple is the Phil stuff. That's what Phil added to the policy after reading it. And then the final one, it says clean in the lower right-hand corner. That's just the red line version with all of the gunk taken out and everything turned.
Basically,
The
the
same
clean
color.
version will become the new policy if we vote
Yes.
to approve
If we
today.
vote to, well, we're not voting to approve today. This is just presenting it.
Yes,
Thought we
so,
were.
no, they have to be able to digest it and
Yes.
answer questions, and then we'll vote at our next meeting, which is in,
November.
thank you.
So this is just the preliminary review. If you have questions now, great. If not, you can reach out at any time before now in the November meeting.
So the other one though, the goal is to vote on it in the November meeting as well.
Well, we haven't gotten there yet.
No, the future behavior, we're
We're
not,
still working on it.
yes. So we'll present that one in November, which means we'll have to meet again. We'll present that one in November to the
I just like
TODA
hanging
in
out with you, Bob.
January.
What?
I just like hanging out with you guys.
I'm just thinking, we have that one pretty much done except for the weapons clause.
Yes,
Is that
Yes, we
correct?
don't
Yeah.
necessarily have to meet. We can do it by email.
I was gonna say, if we can get that weapons clause
I
sorted.
just want to
which-
get Phil to look at it.
If the
again.
weapons clause gets sorted, which I think it will, and we can email it to everybody in this room within the next month, I don't see why we can't vote on it.
You're the president.
We'll see how it goes. Let the governance committee go once Phil's taken a look at
Absolutely.
So,
it. Okay,
I know we presented earlier in the year, the list of policies we were looking at, and it's sort of, changed a little.
We've
As
been
things come up.
looking at, since there've been so many book challenges and things. There are also challenges in libraries to programs and to displays. So we're trying to get together a display policy, which we've never had a specific display policy. So that might be a part of another policy, or it might be its own policy. As well as update our programming policy, just so that it's kind of in line with our collection development policy and the process we have for book challenges. So that we can use the same form for everything, and any concerns that people have will be submitted basically in the same way and handled the same way. So it's just a matter of getting all our ducks in a row with that stuff.
okay, so everyone has the bulletin board policy to take home and look at.
Yes.
And if you have any questions you wanna ask immediately, can you email Mary?
Sure. Yes, please.
Or anybody on the governance committee, or otherwise bring your questions to our next meeting.
Yes.
Okay. Any other governance committee stuff?
I don't think so.
Old business, I don't see anything listed here, is that correct?
That is correct.
And new business, we have the budget information from commission,
Which we
which I
already-
assume we just talked about.
Yes, we did.
So, does that cover everything we needed to discuss tonight outside of our advocacy moment? Okay. We can move on to our advocacy moment where we all talk about what we've read or watched lately. And since you're joining us from online, would you like to contribute and go first?
Oh, sure. So
Right.
I'm happy to report that because we did some traveling this summer, I was lucky enough to convince my husband he really did want to listen to Demon Copperhead, and he loved it. Really a great book, close to my heart because Barbara Kingsolver lives in Southwest Virginia, which is where I went to college. And it very much is a book about that part of the country and the problems inherent in the poverty in Appalachia. And the other thing was today, I spent most of my day at the Veterans Hospital out in Aspinwall. My husband is a vet and he was going for appointments, and they tend to do everything all at once. So I spent my day sitting and waiting. And I took with me this month's Atlantic magazine, and there is an incredible article in there called Janisha from Kentucky. This, I'll tell you what, you guys, you all should pick up a copy of the Atlantic from this month and take a look at that article. I actually was sitting in the Veterans Hospital crying over how incredible this story is from this woman. And I don't want to tell you anything more because I think when you get to the end of it, it really is like, oh my golly. So there you have it. Those are my recommendations.
Okay. Kristen, we're gonna let you go last today. We're gonna go over to Robin. We're gonna switch it up.
Okay, well, I'm not gonna talk about what I normally, my potato chips, romance novels, embarrassing. So Sharon Bruni just gave me this book yesterday because I was telling her about the Japanese exchange student I'm helping with. This is called Water, Wood, and Wild Things by Hannah Kirshner. And it sounds like a cross between the Foxfire books and Under a Tuscan Sun, only set in Japan. So it's about this woman who bicycles around Japan, and she meets all of these like craftsmen, and it says master woodturners, hunters, a paper artist, and a man making charcoal in his nearly abandoned village on the outskirts of town. So it talks all about the Japanese countryside and the artisan culture and craftspeople and what they're doing to keep their traditions alive. So it sounded really like and not like something that I would normally read, because I own most of the Foxfire books and I love them. And if you don't know about, it's about these students in the 70s started it down in northern Georgia, in just the most rural areas of Appalachia you can think of. And they were just interviewing all of like the people that lived up in the mountains and all of their crafts and the things they did to just, like boiling hog jowls and making.
How-to books.
Yeah, exactly. Everything about mountain living. So I just devoured those books when I was a kid, and I still love them. And then Under the Tuscan Sun, I think most people are familiar with that, just like the kind of love affair travelogue of Italy. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to starting this book. And then as far as watching, we've started our Halloween watching, so Fright Night this past weekend.
Original or remake?
They were,
Good. Okay, just checking.
come on now. And we also
Colin
watched,
Farrell's remake.
and for some reason, we also watched Arthur with Dudley Moore. I've never seen it before, but we watched the trailer because they have all those weird trailers on the stream. And we were cracking up at the trailer, so we decided to watch it. And I was like, that was bizarre. Like, that movie would never be made today. It's like completely pointless. Like Dudley Moore and Liza Minnelli as the romantic leads. It's like, really? But it was entertaining anyway. So yeah, it was a weird weekend. Okay, that's all I have.
So I've been revisiting all those romances I read as a kid.
Yeah,
So
join the club.
I never left it. I just don't really talk about it. But so I've been rereading Julie Garwood and Judith McNaught lately. And I started binge watching the Halloween Baking Championship. Not that I bake, but it's just interesting and realizing how much gorier they get every year.
They really do.
So, okay.
British Bake Off starts next week.
Yeah.
I always consider the official start of the spooky season when Halloween Baking Championship.
Well, it started what, last week? Or the beginning of
Yeah.
September?
Yeah,
So-
2 weeks ago.
Yes, so,
I'm not familiar with this.
well, yeah, it's on Monday nights.
It's like football.
Yes, so that's all I have to share. All you.
I have become moderately obsessed with a podcast called 60 Songs That Explain the 90s. Which is on the Ringer Network.
Who wants to explain
They're better.
The podcast is done so well that even though that's the name, they're up to like song 115 now or something. It is hosted, he does do interviews at the end of the podcast, but it's pretty much a solo podcasting performance by a brilliant music writer and critic named Rob Harvilla, who each episode will pick a band and a track. But it's sometimes 20-25 minutes before he even gets to discussing the track. And up until then, it's sort of like social issues at the time, or like, it's sort of like he finds these interesting ways to weave in. I just listened to an episode on Goodbye Earl by the Dixie Chicks. And he starts the episode talking about the Nicolas Cage action movie Con Air. And I'm like, why is this happening? And it turns out it's because like Trisha Yearwood sang the theme song that plays over the end credits of that movie. So he ends up talking about Con Air, dovetails into that, talks about sort of the house in the 90s when female country artists disrespected or roadblocks weren't, they pretty much owned radio with Shania Twain and the Dixie Chicks, and it's just, it is I mean, whether he's talking grunge or hip hop or country, it is just, I put like 35 episodes on my phone.
Well, let me know
about-
who does the Catherine wheel, because they were fantastic.
Okay, so that's my big thing, otherwise, I've been watching the new season of What We Do in the Shadows, it's entertaining as always, I think I have a couple episodes left. And I think that's it for me.
Alright, and interesting you mentioned a podcast, I didn't know that would qualify.
Yes. You know what?
I hadn't thought of it.
When I was named president, my first two things were podcast qualify and we should get a library cat, but Marcia shot down the library cat, so I only get podcasts
Smart
during
move.
the.
Yeah, so actually podcast, I consume a lot of my time, listening to one now on machining. It's, two guys, they both own machine shops, and at the end of the day, they just get together and talk about what they've been doing. And different like techniques and machines they're buying, materials and cutting tools. And so it's really fascinating, what got me into this is my middle daughter is a cheerleader, and I end up going to a lot of middle school football games, which I'm not there, usually not to watch on a football game, they're never doing cheering. So I can listen to a podcast. And it's been great, so that I've been driving around. Reading wise, I spend probably most time reading, I have a book called Piano Repair and Maintenance. Really just wanted to know how the steps to tune a piano. And what I'm learning is that it's not for amateurs. It's not a hobby type activity. You have to be a professional with a lot of experience. And so it's a little disappointing, but I'm still reading it.
Okay, so this book isn't like Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, this is like an actual
It's like a
guide to
manual, or
manual,
like a-
okay.
Yes, everything you need to know from tuning all the way to complete restoration.
Wow,
None of which I'm qualified to do.
somebody posted a free baby grand on Freebo, so you might wanna look into that.
Could be a
Something to
practice
play with,
piece.
yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, I have one in my basement. You are welcome anytime.
It does need to,
It
yes.
does. Yeah, it's really bad,
Well, from
so.
what I've learned, I would probably break it.
That would also be okay.
And I read a biography that was published this year on Mary Lou Williams, jazz pianist and artist in Pittsburgh. In our history. That's what I've done.
That's far more intelligent than anything I've done. I read my normal 2 to 3 books a week, but the ones that were interesting is I just finished one called Killers of a Certain Age. Now, I love murder, true crime, etc. This one is about a group of 4 women who are all serious seniors, well over 60, who were professional assassins. But the organization that they were professional assassins for decided since they were retired, they needed to be assassinated. So it's the tale of what they're up to, jumping back to how they started, what they were doing when they first started out, to what they're doing to basically save themselves, and it's a ball.
It sounds brilliant.
I
It's
really
a ball.
enjoyed it.
What's it called? Killers of a Certain Age. I finished the most recent, I love the series on the Marlowe books. Death Comes to Marlowe is the latest. It's set in Marlowe, England, and it has a special place because they talk about a hotel called the Complete Angler, which is right on the Thames in Marlowe. And I stayed there for 2 days, and so I know all the places they're talking
Is it
about.
spelled like the book?
Marlow.
No, I mean the Complete Angler,
Yes, it's
like that,
Compleat.
like that.
Angler, and then the Wind in the Willows house is right up the river from it. I took a boat ride up past that. I just finished Mrs. Porter Calling, probably 1.5 years ago, I reported on a book called Dear Mrs. Bird, which I loved. It's about a woman who wants to be a journalist, that's all she wants to do. She's in wartime, World War II, London, and she gets a job, but it's being an assistant to a woman named Mrs. Bird, who writes an advice column for a women's magazine. And Mrs. Bird has a list, 22-page list of all the things that can't be published. No sex, no blah, 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 blah. And of course, all the letters want that. And so this woman, basically how she responds, well, there's now 3 books in the series and they're fun. I've read the latest Lisa Jewell, Kathy Reichs, Ruth Ware. I read the latest Marie Benedict. I'm a huge Marie Benedict fan. She's a Pittsburgher. Her new one's called First Ladies. Watching, I know this sounds really dumb, but we spent 3 nights in a row up to last night's football game, watching Harry Potter movies in order. Robert never read the books. I love the books, so he's watching the movies, and we're going to continue with number 4 tonight. You and I, last time in July, talked about a series that you'd gotten an advanced copy of.
Justified City Primeval.
Thank you. It was fabulous.
Yes.
Justified City Primeval. We're doing Billions. We finished off Sinners. I don't know if any of you have ever run into Righteous Gemstones.
Of course.
Okay,
Obviously.
yeah.
I
We
love
just
it.
finished the 2nd season of that. Because there's nothing on television, you might as well catch up on all your binge watching. That's it.
I'm teaching 2 new courses, so I've been reading a lot on teaching, writing, and rhetoric. And I'm working towards a PhD, and part of the component, like a major component of it is a foreign language. And I used to tutor Latin, and I had taken Latin, it's not an easy language, so I've been reading a lot of Latin. Got out my old Wheelocks, and I've been reading lots of Virgil and Ovid.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so it's not anything,
Not like reading.
it's not like reading, it's more like studying.
Did you remember it? Because I took it in college and I know a few of the words now, but I kept all my books and I always hope to pick it up again.
The vocabulary has completely like flown out of my head, so that's the biggest part for me. And I was even thinking of making flashcards, because I have to take a test to prove that I can actually. But the grammar actually came right back, so that was really good.
That's good.
Yeah, but the thing that I have been reading a lot of lately, Robin had recommended, my son was really into graphic novels, but he's 3 years old. So most of the graphic novels, as you're probably aware, just the content, even the stuff for middle schoolers and high schoolers is just far above what I have to really censor it for a 3-year-old. But Robin recommended that there is a collection of graphic novels for younger kids, and we have worked our way through.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
I'm so glad to hear that.
Yes, so we have read Dr. Bugspit every single day for the past 2 weeks. So, and The Real Poop About Pigeons. So yes.
Dog man.
Fantastic.
We are wearing those books out of that collection, yeah.
Dave Pilkey's books were
I
kind
know,
of
he's
right
kinda on
there.
that cusp of-
Yeah, in between.
Right.
Marissa?
Dave Pilkey had,
He did the Captain Underpants.
yeah,
books.
Dog
They're like half-
Man is one of his graphic
Diary of a
novels.
Wimpy Kid is similar, where it's like
Yeah.
half artwork and half.
And the Diary of a Wimpy
That's
Kid was
tough.
written for adults, you just couldn't
That's
sell
not a
it.
children's book. I mean,
My daughters were really into all that stuff.
Wait, well, no, I remember when it came out, and he was at some conference I was at, and he was talking about how he couldn't sell it, so he had to revamp it, and that's why it's. Mm-hmm,
really.
Mhm.
More, you know.
mm-hmm,
Okay.
so that's why this is more adult kind of spin on Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
He's obviously interested in material
We'll
that's
get
far
there.
above him.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
we'll get there.
That's Baby Mouse, I'm trying to remember, we'll take it now. That were kids.
I have to go to her.
You're not reading things in the original Latin.
I binged the Cormoran Strike mysteries by J.K. Rowling, and I am watching Will and Grace.
Oh, I love that show.
That's so fun. I've actually caught Will and Grace in the middle of the night. It's on regular TV. I guess we're in a murder theme because we've been watching Only Murders in the Building, which I really enjoy, and then the Thursday Murder Club
I love the
books.
Thursday murder.
I'm just getting ready to start the second one, but when you said killers of a certain age, of like, it's like that
If you-
same,
If you like the the Thursday.
Yeah.
We do the Norwell.
Okay, I will. I wrote it
It's
down.
very similar.
And it's just, it's set in like a retirement village and it's just hilarious.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I don't do a lot of audiobooks, but my bestie and I read a lot of the same books and she was like, I think this could be the series that hooks you into audiobooks because it is so entertaining as an audiobook. So, and then we just started very late to the party, but Succession. So,
Oh, that's
Yeah.
a great show.
yes.
We finished that.
We really are enjoying it so far. It's like, it is so just funny in like the darkest way of just terrible human beings being terrible all the time, but it's very funny. And I just have a really fun library story. All the like nieces and nephews in my family are just like barbarian children who I've forced books on their entire life and just nobody cares. But my cousin has children who love books. They just started Anne of Green Gables, but so her one daughter who is 6, she's like, every week Margot brings home cookbooks and my cousin's husband has to read the cookbooks like a book, like 2 tablespoons
I
of
totally do.
like, I'm
I
like,
totally
that
do
is the
cookbooks.
funniest thing. I'm like, wait,
Love
so
it.
Anthony has to read the recipes and she's like, yes, we read cookbooks like books. I'm like, that's fantastic. So, yeah, made me laugh.
There are actually several libraries that have book clubs, and I think Castle
Really?
Shannon is one where, yeah, you all take out the
Oh,
same
that's
cookbook and then
so
you,
cute.
make a recipe from the cookbook and you bring it in and everybody eats and talks about
Well,
it.
that's what I was like, well, are you like making them now? And she's like, well, we went through pizza and Margot has some gluten issues, so we are struggling, but yeah, so, yeah, they read cookbooks.
The American Girl series has some cookbooks, and there's like a little bit of content in.
Oh, that's good
with
to
it.
know.
Yeah, I would
That's
recommend,
very good
if
to
you're
know.
the one who buys books.
Yes, I've stopped forcing the books on the barbarian children, but,
get
But the
those
Red Wall
going.
cookbook, that's another one. It's got like a little short story.
Oh,
about
okay.
the Red Wall. Red Wall's probably not popular anymore, but it's so cute and the
Yeah.
recipes are good.
they would like that, so.
Yeah, and the Red Wall books have a ton of food.
Oh, that's why I like this way. It's like all food and fighting. They have a big feast and then they go out and they fight some rats and they come back and they eat some more and it's great.
Oh, that would be right down their street.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
You talk about barbaric.
yeah, well, and because they are now at the age where all they do is fist fight with each other.
I kind of want to go to one of your family parties now, just.
Oh, yeah, we call it the extravaganza, because our last name is Baginski, so it even has a name, yeah.
Okay, thank you for advocating, everyone. Anything else before we adjourn? This meeting is now adjourned. It sounds like we don't meet in October, is that correct?
Right, so we'll meet in November.
Can we move that
Everybody-
one, right, to be the week
Yeah, we
before
did move for-
Thanksgiving,
Let me
Yeah.
double check the date.
the 14th or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I think it's,
It was Thanksgiving, wasn't it?
it was, and
Yeah,
then we
so-
were like, yeah, no, that's a
That's not a
bad
good idea.
idea.
So Marcia, you got some Walton Goggins as Baby Billy
Oh,
and
I
Righteous
love- He is
Gemstones.
one of my favorite.
And then you got a
actors.
little bit of Walton Goggins.
I
and
know.
Justified. Did you squeal? Did you excited? I was excited.
He is one of my favorite
He's the
actors.
best.
He
He's
really is. He
absolutely
is
the best.
phenomenal.
I think it's the 14th, but I'll confirm the date. It's actually out on the bulletin board, so as you walk by, you can look yourself, but I
Yeah,
will
we sat-
confirm it
we did
via
that
email.
3 nights. We basically.
You did the first 2 seasons of Gemstones?
Thank you, Anne.
Yeah.
Season 3
What
is
did you
the
say
best.
for the date of the
Season 3 is the
holiday
best Baby Billy season.
Thank you, Robin and everybody.
He is so.
Thank you, Anne.
Have a good
Good
night.
Bye. Good night.
Yep.